Coach Garrett steps down from being the GAU head coach because of Liv. Liv did it, people. And everybody thought, oh, yes, Coach Garrett stepped down. Liv's going to kind of relax with the article. But then she says, nah, I'm still dropping the article. Good for you, Liv. You know what? I wasn't even thinking about that as an up, but that's an up right there, Liv. Yes, sir, it is your boy KB, the boss from ShifterMagazine.com, here with another episode of Shifter TV Talk, where we break down the latest in some of our favorite TV shows. And today we're talking about last night's episode of All American. That's season 5, episode 6, went down last night, and it was it was an amazing episode, people. And I think the fan base would agree that last night's episode was an amazing episode. Dare I say, almost a perfect episode, people. I think the episode may have been perfect. So we're going to dive into last night's episode right now. Now, before that, though, let me say that last week, I did take last week off. Last week, I was, as I said 2 weeks ago, I was going to be away in the Dominican Republic. I was on the beach. I was poolside in the Dominican Republic last week, so I did miss last week's episode. I tried to record, but we're back this episode talking about All American. So we're gonna start with my one down from last night's episode, and that's just around JJ. JJ, man. A few weeks ago, JJ had me almost feeling that maybe he was going to turn a corner, people, that maybe he was going to mature and snap out of, whatever is going on with him. But alas, he didn't. And so yes, on yesterday's episode, he continued his irresponsible ways, partying 3 nights in a row at the beach house, not cleaning up after himself. Jordan is there having to clean up after him. And finally, Asher's like, listen, Jordan was chalking it up to, it's just him being a freshman. But then Asher had to be like, nah, we're all freshmen and we're all maturing and we're all growing. And he basically told Jordan to stop cleaning up after him, stop making excuses for him. And then, later in the episode, JJ decides to leave the house. He decides to move out, accuses the other guys of being grumpy old men, wants to find people, basically wants to find some new roommates that are like willing to party with him and all that kind of stuff. And he leaves the house. Now, on one side of the coin, I'm like, JJ's always been the glue guy. He's been the glue guy in the crew, in the vortex. So it's kind of sad to see him leave the house because, he's the one that really always remembers to bring everybody together. He's basically like the one-man social committee for the Vortex. But he finally left. And part of me is just like, it wasn't down because his character, I said it a few weeks ago, JJ's a waste man, and he is. JJ is a waste man. If you don't know what that is, go check urbandictionary.com. But he is a waste man. And so, the way his character has not evolved, again, you look at Jordan and you look at Spencer, you look at Asher, everyone's growing, everyone's evolved into college life. And JJ's just being left behind, being lazy, not doing anything with his life, just partying all day. And so, just him taking that step of finally leaving the house for me was just such a down. Like the level of immaturity that we're seeing from this guy, you deserve a big fat down, JJ. Let's talk about the ups because there were a lot. There were a lot from this episode. Potential down. I didn't put this as a down, but Gia, Gia, the PR girl at the record label, kind of overstepped a little bit. Went outside of the plan of what Patience and Layla had said for the music video that Patience was doing. A little bit of a down for me. A little bit of it. I'm not gonna call it a full down. It's not gonna be listed, but that's a tiny little bit of a down. They kind of cleared it up afterwards in sense of what she was trying to do. But I think watch this girl Gia. Watch this girl Gia, because I feel like this was the first of a few falling outs that's gonna happen between her and Layla. I feel like that dissension in the ranks there between Gia and Layla, I don't think it's over. I think there's more coming. So watch this girl. Not giving her a full down yet, but watch this girl, Gia. Now, let's talk about our ups from last night's episode. Coach Garrett steps down from being the GAU head coach because of Liv. Liv did it, people. She did it. People thought she was like being reckless in the past, and she was figuring herself out. For a long time she was figuring out how to be this journalist without being, as Jordan said in the previous episode, a bull in a china shop, and she's figuring it out now in this episode. So yeah, Coach Garrett steps down, all thanks to Liv. Someone kind of gave him the tip that this article was coming. And so to dodge a bullet, he went and stepped down from his position at GAU on the big recruiting day. Recruiting day, but again, that's a big win for Liv. And everybody thought, oh yes, Coach Garrett stepped down. Liv's gonna kind of relax with the article, but then she says, nah, I'm still dropping the article. Good for you, Liv. You know what? I wasn't even thinking about that as an up, but that's an up right there, Liv. So not only Coach Garrett stepping down, but Liv saying, Liv, even as people are telling Liv to not drop the article because Coach Garrett stepped down, she decided to do it anyway. Boom, you get an up for that, Liv. Second up, the whole recruiting storyline for me, Spencer, Asher, and Jordan being the whole recruiting thing. I thought that was a good storyline. I thought it was a good storyline. I love the whole recruiting thing. It put Spencer and Asher in direct competition with each other. They're fighting for the big prospect, was it Marco Galvez? And I just loved it. Like I loved just seeing them step up into those roles. Like, Asher stepping up into his role of being a coach, Jordan and Spencer stepping up when it comes to being leaders on their team. And it really makes you think back to the time when Jordan and Spencer first got on that team and they couldn't even get playing time, people. They couldn't even get time on the field. They were scrubs to Coach Garrett. And then now you're seeing them like, by the end of, but by this season, now you're like, okay, these two are now, they went from being like these kind of considered these scrub players, not being given the time of day, to now being a star quarterback and a star running back. Yo, that's amazing. All these men stepping up into their roles of leadership, having a little bit of friendly competition on recruiting day. I love it. Thank you. We give that an up. Jordan punches JJ. Punched him in his face. Now, do I advocate for violence? Not necessarily, but in this fictitious world, why not? Now, if you watch the episode, JJ was drunk. He was kind of, talking recklessly. He was talking about how Jordan has been boring since high school. And then he kind of overstepped in talking about Layla. And that's when Jordan decided to go, knocked him in his face. They're rolling on the ground. Jordan's pounding on him. I thought it was good. I thought it was nice to see Jordan standing up for Layla, standing up for himself. In the past, in the show, people have alluded to him being a little bit soft and whatnot. So I just like to, I like to see him kind of stand up to JJ, put him in his place. Asher was trying to tell him not to be a pushover and he didn't see it. But then after that, he's like, I see what Asher was talking about. And so, yes, JJ standing up, or Jordan standing up for himself and standing up for Layla, putting JJ in his place. Boom. That's an up for me. Next one, well, let's get to you, the Jordan love. Jordan and Layla, they meet again for a secret rendezvous. They have a little alone time. Jordan sends her a text and says that he needs her, please. And she comes over, and then you just kind of see her buttoning up her shirt, alluding to the fact that something just happened. Man, I'm loving these two, man. Jordayla, loving these two, loving the romance, loving the passion, loving the heat and intensity between these two. There's just so much to love about these two, man. They every episode, they just keep giving us ups. They just keep giving us ups, and we just hope that they keep sending us some more and sending us more. Of course, there's probably going to come a moment where Jordan's going to really want more. He's going to want more than just kind of hiding out. It seems to be alluding to that Jordan's going to want to be more public and stuff like that. Right now, Layla seems to still want things to be on the down low. I think it's going to cause a little bit of friction probably, as Jordan wants some things to come out into the open, and maybe Layla won't be okay with that. So we'll see where that goes. But as of right now, that particular scene of the passion between them two, boom, up. Last but not least, Liv drops the article. Now this is how the episode ends. Spoiler alert. Actually, this whole thing was a spoiler alert, by the way. But yeah, so Liv drops the article about Coach Garrett, and earlier in the episode, her editor says that if you want to drop this, there's some creative ways that you can use to drop this, and so she ends up dropping the article under a different name, under a man's name. I think it's Jaden Lewis, if I'm not mistaken, at the top of my head. Ends up writing the article and releasing it under the name Jaden Lewis. And that's to that allowed her to drop the article, but still being sensitive to the fact that her being Spencer's ex-girlfriend and Jordan's sister would have put them in a very compromising position. So that allowed her to drop the article without necessarily throwing those two directly under the bus. And I thought it was good. Because this is Spencer and Liv learning how to like mesh their worlds, learning how to like work together. So yeah, I like it because they in the end of last season, it's like they both had these kind of conflicting perspectives that they were butting heads, not figuring out how does Liv be this outspoken critic, this voice, as a journalist, while not compromising the people that she loves. And this shows that she's matured and she's learning how to do both. Whether it'll be well received by Jordan and Spencer is something else to see, because the scenes for the next episode showed us that they lose some players off the roster. Some of the players are out of here because of the article, but that just shows that that's them trying to figure out how she could be who she needs to be, how he can be who he needs to be, and have those two things not conflict. So that's a good thing for Liv. So boom, she's maturing and evolving. Let's go. And that's it for this episode, man. As I have one down and a whole bunch of ups, which means this was a dope episode. I loved it. I think the fan base loved it too, because there's a lot of buzz out there. Again, I think a lot of people who stopped watching watched this episode. And so, yeah, man, I thought it was great. We also got a new character, Rick Barnes, played by Morris Chestnut. He's overseeing the GAU football program. He's a former Crenshaw running back. You can see that Billy Baker really looks up to him. And so it'd be interesting to see what that relationship is like. I think he's going to be kind of a villain, a bad guy on the show. We'll see where that goes. It's always nice when you get a new character. Now, there are a few questions that I'm asking myself. Now, the first question I'm asking myself is, what if Asher ends up getting the news that he's able to play again and has to decide between being a coach or a player? Because he's learned to love being a coach. He's excelling being a coach. What if he finds out that he can actually play again? And has to decide between being a coach or a player. That's one question that gets come to my mind. Now, the other question I have is, what if Gia, the PR girl, is actually in cahoots with Clay? What if somehow she's like, this is a whole thing, this is some kind of big conspiracy, like some kind of big plan on Clay's part to kind of get her in there as a plant to mess up Layla's whole operation? Because we haven't seen him much. We haven't seen him at all in the past few episodes. And that is it. Those are my ups and downs from last night's episode of All American. Once again, I thought it was a great episode. But if you want to weigh in, let me know in the comments your ups and your downs from last night's episode of All American. And once again, we're looking to do a contest very soon to have either a member of the Sister BET on Sister or Sisters on BET fan base or the All American fan base to be a guest host on an episode of Shifter TV Talk. So that is coming very, very soon. So look out for those details. Once again, it's your boy KB, the boss from ShifterMagazine.com. I'm out. Peace.